Boy, you don't get a much more beautiful spring day here in Wisconsin, especially when it's the day after Derby Day. We are here for the aftermath of Richland Center, Wisconsin Motorsports Mayhem, Twisted Metal Motorsports, Jason Cox, and the H-Body. Look at that mess. I haven't even opened the hood on this thing yet, guys. I planned on doing that with you, so if I grab the bolt cutters, we'll pop the hood off of here and see exactly what kind of mess we have in here. But first, let's start at the back of the car, and I'll tell you what took me out, and we'll go from there. So, first off, right off the line, I tried to make, I think I did 3 total hits going backwards, and I was actually extremely impressed with how the back of this car went. We weren't allowed to tuck the trunk. In hindsight, I probably should have cut part of the lid off, because that would have been legal. Because even though the back of the car was coming in about as perfect as it could, it pushed the trunk lid up, and after those 3 hits, I couldn't see backwards anymore. As you saw on the front of the car, I did lose the bumper. No, Adam, it wasn't my welds. It actually ripped off of the frame of the car. And I'll show you guys that so you believe me. But guys were, flagging me down under the red flags. And yes, I saw you guys, and I really appreciate it. That was really cool, actually. Everybody was telling me that the bumper was in the process of breaking off. So I made a couple more hits backwards, but then still kept going forwards because, one, I didn't care about this car at all. I wanted to push it as much as I possibly could, and I don't like just slamming it in reverse and flying into people because, I know once this starts packing, you got jagged edges and stuff. I don't want to put one of these into a guy's driver's window and hurt somebody, so I kept driving it forwards. Like I said, wanted to push it as much as I could. It's coming in right over the rear wheels, about perfect. Both rear wheels are pushed forward a little bit, and that is because these rear seams did blow out. Sorry guys, I got these tires in here. There's my bumper, and there's where it's still welded to the frame. The other side you can see a little better. I didn't actually look at the seat on this side. I don't know if this one blew out, but I do know this tire is up into the metal also. Oh yeah, that one definitely blew out too. So it did this on both sides. So you can see instead of bending as much here all the way across, since the seams blew, one blew way over, that's kind of weird. So since the seams blew, it started to bend here at the front of the seat, which is pretty common when, as far as the W bodies back end's fairly similar. Most mid-size cars, obviously a lot more W body experience. Typically, if these seams are decent, it'll fold here a lot more before it starts to fold here. But if the seam's bad, then it comes forward a little bit faster, and you'll get this area start to bend. So that's what we had happen here. We do still have, a decent amount of creasing right there in the back seat. But in reality, and this is going to be one of my struggles as we get through this video, the car's got a decent amount of back end left. Right, guys? My goal was to junk this car and be able to take it to Weller's on Wednesday. And when I got off the track, I thought I had accomplished that. Looking at it now, I'll be honest with you guys, I'm struggling. One reason that I assumed I was done and this thing was going to be junk, the Derby gods were talking to me while we were out there, and they put my firewall, there we go, right behind my brake pedal. I could not push that pedal at all. Gas pedal was still there though. But it didn't matter because for about my last minute or so, I'll have to actually check the video, my throttle was stuck wide open. You'll probably even be able to hear it under red flag. I did eventually shut it off during the red flag because I assumed it was just going to blow up. I did get it to refire. Got to make a couple more hits after that red flag with the throttle still stuck open. That was a blast. I was just along for the ride, trying to jam gears, hoping that I would hit the right one, and forward, backwards, and just full throttle. Couldn't do anything about it, which is fine because I kind of like to run that way anyway. But if you look out as the driver, let me back up here. you can see that strut tower is looking back at me. So I assumed the frame was completely junk if that strut tower is facing me. But upon further review, don't know how well you're going to be able to see that, but this frame is still straight as an arrow. The sub's got a kink to it, so we have that going on, but the actual unibody frame still looks to be fairly straight. So I'm going to set the camera down here, and I'm going to get the hood off of here so that we can take a little bit closer look at what we've got going on. Got it. Oh, all right. So, well, that's interesting. There's some oil. There's my oil cap. And there's where it's supposed to be. Huh. I don't think I've ever had that happen before. I've not seen that on a couple other videos from other guys, but she definitely peeled right off. Oh, there's the seatbelt that was holding my radiator in. That used to be tight. But this guy here, holy cow. Yeah, that's pretty mangled. I can't tell. From this angle, it does look like that frame's bent. There's so much damn mud under here. I really can't tell. We may have to do a second aftermath video of this after I grab one of our new fire extinguishers and hose this thing off, try to get a little bit better angle. This side's definitely pushing back also, but one of the problems, I wanted to be able to, I was competing trying to get one of those Mad Dog trophies, which I didn't get, but that's alright. And usually the biggest hits to the fans, what they're going to be able to see most exciting is when you take the front of a front-wheel drive car and hit the back of a front-wheel drive car, because the backs are really soft, so if you hit them hard enough, it usually looks pretty cool. But the front of this car sat really low, so even when I did still have a bumper, I was kind of hitting the backs of cars with core support and apparently strut, because this thing is definitely pushed way up. It doesn't look like it was held together very well. It actually looks kind of rotted, but anyway, computer came undone, so whatever. Coil pack stayed tight, and I'm not really sure what's going on here that caused the throttle to be stuck open. I don't know if this cable stretched when it went up here, because the one for the foot, it still felt like it was working, so I'm almost wondering if this one that's for the cruise control was stuck. It does feel like it's pretty well closed now, but this engine's definitely sitting a little bit lower. Either that or it just looks that way because of how high this is, but I'm at a loss. I'm not really sure what to do. You guys know I like trying to fix things. You also know this car's kind of a piece anyway, and the goal was to get rid of it. So I'm going to have to deliberate with Adam, probably drink a beer or two and stare at this thing and decide if we want to try to pull this strut tower back down, pull this stuff back out, and slap a new bumper on it, because sorry, traffic. Because it does seem to be still fairly straight up front, aside from obviously that strut tower being pushed way back. Now it did get to the point where it just shut off, so if the engine doesn't start, then this will be a moot point, and we'll just haul her in. I don't know if this battery's got enough to start it, but let's try. Go around to the other side. Fortunately, with all that hood moving around and everything getting bowed, my fuel lines stayed good. Let's see what we got. Well, she fires up, but she's definitely still at a very high idle. But it's not the throttle, so I'm wondering if it's a vacuum line or something. I know some of those can push the idle to be a lot higher. So I may have to figure that part out. Sounds like my blinker's on. I'm going to see if I can get this thing to drive itself into the garage, and we will definitely make sure that we get you guys an update on this one before we decide what to do with it. We appreciate you following along as always. Get goosed.